Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's Ag Forecast brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions, your premier platform for real-time global insights. Well, much of the context of yesterday's long-range outlook that we released at my.nutrienagsolutions.com focused on corn planting progress compared to 2014 to 2018 average. You can see every state which we're monitoring is behind average. We like to analyze this by looking at these line graphs, which show week by week the corn planting progress, and I've got every year on here since 1990. And one of the big questions we're trying to answer is, 2019 is right now on the verge of being the slowest planting pace since 1990. And while in 2013 we made rapid progress from week 19 to week 20, it does not look as though we're going to do that. Now, there has been quite a bit of planting progress over the last few days, but more than likely we're going to end up somewhere over in this area with time here, maybe even not that great a slope. So it looks as though 2019 will be the slowest planting progress we've had since 1990. Now, when I say some folks were able to make some progress, it's because of maps like this. This is 3:15 a.m. on May 16th. So when I was recording this video, look, we still had a huge section of the country here with very, very warm temperatures. And since Mother's Day, we've seen a major resurgence of warmth across the midsection of the country. And during that same time period, we've really only had hit or miss showers and storms. And it's neat. You can actually look at the last 24 hours and see the flow of the atmosphere. Do you see how the precipitation is coming around like this? It was going basically over and around the ridge, but we still had some nasty storms through parts of North Dakota, moving into Minnesota. Early this morning, they're now progressing through Minnesota, Wisconsin, on their way toward parts of Michigan throughout the early morning, and some really nasty storms that came into parts, down here in parts of Illinois, Missouri, but really getting down toward Memphis, where I saw some reports of some hail. In fact, looking at storm reports just from yesterday, we certainly had some hail up here, some stronger winds too in parts of North Dakota, and then there's those hail reports in there and around the Memphis area. Now, the bigger show is happening out west, and it's about ready to unload across the United States. But still, early in the morning, we were dealing with a widespread region in parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin with a lot of active thunderstorms. And these will, throughout the day here, be bringing more of this lightning, more of the heavy rain through Wisconsin, through southern Minnesota, and over toward Michigan. In fact, I'd like to start there in the forecast. Let's just get right on in to what's going on with our high-resolution model. So here we go. We can see that through the early morning hours, the storms are moving through Wisconsin, over toward Michigan, and eventually get their way into the eastern Corn Belt. At that point, though, as we progress through the afternoon and evening hours on Thursday, here's some of the big things I'll be paying attention to. You're going to start to see in the overnight hours storms kind of forming on this frontal boundary, this warm frontal boundary that'll be stretched right into this part of the country. So it will be really Thursday, but getting into Friday, that in this region I'm concerned about strong to severe storms. Scattered showers and thunderstorms for parts of the south, but you can see the bigger storm system making its way onshore here after socking Northern California, getting through parts of Oregon, parts of the Pacific Northwest, bringing in a lot of orographically induced thunderstorms. That's where the mountains are this primary lifting mechanism, and that is the big system that is the beginning of what will be a very tumultuous next 10 days, starting again on Friday and lasting through almost all of next week. So we see that by early morning on Friday, again, we're watching that same boundary. See it right in through here for active showers and thunderstorms. Meanwhile, we're going to get what was in North Dakota on Wednesday night, early Thursday morning. We'll finally make its way all the way to Virginia, Maryland, this region by Friday morning. And that is, again, the main frontal boundary that's wrapping itself up into what will be a major storm system emerging on Friday into Saturday morning. We're going to watch it very carefully. Our severe weather threat looks like this in the day on Thursday. We can see it's going to be that boundary I just mentioned right in through here that we're going to watch very, very carefully. Outside of that, widely scattered showers and thunderstorms here in the Intermountain West. And we saw them down here in the southeast as well. Now, in the day on Friday, this will be the first big pulse. We're going to watch from western Texas through the Central Plains, and also that frontal boundary, which I just mentioned, extending over to the eastern Corn Belt for our strong to severe thunderstorms. We have got a real risk of some nasty weather in the middle part of the country here. Moving into the day on Saturday, you can just see this translating a little bit to the east, and the reason why is that the wave that is out here is so deep that the trajectory of these storm systems is more north-south than east-west. So it will be a slow progression of the frontal boundaries that are lifting the air, creating the severe weather, such that by the time you get into the day on Sunday, you can still see it's going to reload back here in the middle part of the country. So what's about to happen is is we're going to see at least 3 big rounds, 3 big surges of major precipitation and major severe weather threat over the next 8 to 10 days. And I got to be honest with you, the next 8 to 10 days is not going to be so much about what the forecast is, but instead about the nowcast. And what I mean by that is, overall, I can just paint a picture for you here from the National Blended Model. This goes all the way out looking at total accumulated precipitation to 7 p.m. on the 24th of May. That's next Friday. You can clearly see a big corridor in the midsection of the country is going to be very wet. But when you look at it, I promise you the precipitation amounts are not going to be this smooth and uniform. When the models are blended together like this, we tend to paint this more smooth picture. But in reality, each of the short waves that kind of round the base of this broader trough will bring in multiple waves of moisture and severe weather into where I just drew those lines. Now, that means we're going to have to nowcast our way through the system. You've all heard of forecasting. Nowcasting is where we're watching at the moment to see where the severe weather will be, where the heavy rain is going to be. But it's going to be painted within this corridor right in through here. Southeast, large ridge, everything is kind of shut down here. It's going to be hot. There will be pop-up thunderstorms, but it's not going to be the washout like we're going to be getting in the middle part of the country. And by the way, Northern California, parts of the Pacific Northwest, you have to take these systems first before they get through the mountains and cause problems in the middle part of the country. Just to show you some model comparison, over here on the left, I have the next 10 days from the operational European model, and on the right, I have the GFS, which is the US model here. We do see some similarities and differences. What are the similarities? They both have got this kind of corridor right in here where I drew these triangles as to where the heaviest precipitation is going to be out of these systems. I know you're looking at this going, wait a minute, I see pockets in there of 5+ inches. And yes, there will be places over the next 10 days that accumulate more than 5 inches of rain. These models will not be perfect in pinning down those locations, which means we're going to have to watch to see where the thunderstorms train over one another and where they produce these heavy rainfall events. But there will be pockets in there. Big question that I'm going to have a hard time assessing much in advance is how far to the east are we going to be seeing these thunderstorms? Because if there is a place that stands a chance in the Corn Belt at making some planting progress, it would be the eastern Corn Belt. But then again, with the boundaries sitting there over the next 24 to 48 hours, widely scattered hit or miss thunderstorms out ahead of these next few systems, it may mean that much of the Corn Belt goes back into this shutdown mode. And I hate to say it, but with this much precipitation, it's got me worried about what we're going to have to do in terms of replanting the crop just due to some flooded out fields. So this is the big punch here at the end of May. Now, in terms of severe weather, let me just kind of get you up to speed here because we know we're going to have a multi-day severe weather outbreak. In terms of hail, we're about 60% of average. Now, I know some parts of the U.S. are being hammered with hail, but on the whole, we're about 60% of average. Winds, we are above average, and the bulk of the time of year where we pick up a lot of severe wind reports is still ahead of us. So that's mainly a summer event. In terms of tornadoes, we are right on average and we're about halfway through the season so far. Now, the reason why I bring this up is I want you to let you know something. During this major severe weather outbreak, there is a huge project going on with multiple universities involved. In fact, one of my close friends, Adam Houston, is the main principal investigator of this. And one of the cool things that they're going to be doing in addition to flying aircraft like the NOAA P-3, having a ground crew with mobile Doppler radar, is that we're going to be flying drones into and very near these thunderstorms, collecting some of the most amazing data that we could possibly collect about these severe weather events, which improves our forecasting skill. So I'm excited about that project called Taurus. But look at this. Over the next 5 days, you can see how the country is just split on temperatures. Much of the eastern Corn Belt and the southern United States very warm as the heat surges out of the Gulf of Mexico, but cooler on the backside of this. Day 6 through 10, same pattern. Big southeastern ridge keeping things warm there and cool on the backside. In fact, it is going to be cool enough in this corridor that we may possibly pick up some snow here and in parts of the northern plains. I hate to say that, but that's what can happen. Just to kind of put this all the way up to the day 11 through 15 pattern, it probably won't be until after the next 10 days that we finally start to make some movement, some breakdown of this pattern. But until then, Regions that are already well ahead of average on the accumulation of growing degree day units, like the southeast, are going to continue to just pile them up, as you can see here. And because of the cooler weather on the backside of this, the northern plains, I'm not expecting any major progress on us picking up those growing degree day units. And the Pacific Northwest, which had been over the last couple of weeks warm, we're settling back into a cooler pattern at least through the next 10 days. So we'll keep you up to date on that map on the right as we progress through the season. I'm impressed with how well agreement we have here between the 15-day GFS ensemble and the 15-day European ensemble on precipitation anomalies. You can see very wet corridor in through here. Very good agreement. Southeastern ridge shutting things down there. And also look at parts of the Canadian prairies picking up on a bit of a drier bias as well. So this is an important look at our next 15 days. Some details about this forecast. Now, I want you to watch this. I've been discussing this so much recently. This southwestern trough pushing into a huge southeastern ridge. That's our active pattern. It's that transition out of the trough into the ridge that lights up the middle part of the country. Now, what I want you to see is we hang onto this pattern through the 24th, 25th, 26th of May. So we're deep into the forecast here. But look at what happens once we get to the very end of May. You see that southeastern ridge in the European ensemble here begins to lose some of its strength and position. And because of that, we start to notice that our trough feature moves toward the Great Lakes, suggesting that by the end of the month at the beginning of June, there is a pattern change coming. More on that in just a moment. What I want to focus on next, though, is the operational European model here, forecast for precipitation. We start off the morning with the big system hitting California. This is Thursday morning, and the storm's moving through parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin toward Michigan and the Eastern Corn Belt. So as a click play, it gets there pretty quickly. So there it goes. There goes the storms through Michigan into parts of Indiana and Ohio and over toward the East Coast. Now, you know I was focusing on this boundary, this frontal boundary, this warm frontal boundary that'll be the focus early for our strong to severe storms as we move through the overnight hours on Thursday into Friday morning. All of this is being fed on the circulation around this big high sitting off the East Coast. Some windy conditions, very warm conditions pulsing in the middle part of the country right here, slamming into that boundary. And that is where we're going to be seeing our risk of the stronger showers and thunderstorms, potentially some of them being severe. Again, that is just the beginning, but this is the atmosphere reloading with moisture on a wide open Gulf of Mexico. Friday afternoon, Friday evening, watching the storms in this corridor really starting to blow up here, such that by early Saturday morning into Saturday through the day, you can see her progressing through Texas, Oklahoma, through Missouri. This is the first big wave coming through right there. Now, this is early Sunday morning, progressing to the east. Now watch, the atmosphere is about ready just to reload on Monday. And there it goes again. This is now Monday evening into Tuesday morning, and this system right now is forecast to be substantially large, very windy. And yes, on the back side of this, there's some snow. We'll talk about that in a second. This system comes racing through, bringing the next big pulse by midweek next week, and that is big pulse number 2, and here comes the third wave out of this. You see, we got to shake that western trough, southeastern ridge before we get rid of this very active pattern. But that's why when you put it all together, we have not only the risk for heavy rain, but because there's enough cold air on the backside, maybe some snow. This is the probability of picking up 1 inch of snow over the next 10 days. So 1 inch, that's all I'm looking for, is where we're going to get snow. Yeah, the Sierra Nevada, there might be 3 feet of snow in here. The Intermountain West, bigger snow at the higher elevation. Snow elevation's probably sitting somewhere around 5,000 feet. But look at the high plains here. Look at parts of Colorado. This region right in through here on the backsides of these systems has better than a 50% chance of picking up some snow with each one of these systems coming through. Now, this isn't snow that gets on the ground and stays on the ground, but just don't be surprised if there's some wet snowflakes on the backside of this. Really rough to say that at this time of year. Putting it all together, though, European model, we're just looking again at the next 10 days. If there's a place that is going to be the most difficult for me to forecast, like I said, it will be this region right in through here to see how much rain we actually get. Southeast dry. Yes, you will get hit or miss scattered showers and thunderstorms popping up on the big time heat you're going to be getting, but overall a drier pattern. It's this corridor right in through here that is really going to have to watch closely over the next 10 days with each of those 3 big pulses coming through. Keep a close eye on it with me, okay? Now, toward the end of the month, we will see that by May 30th, you still see the southwestern trough and the southeastern ridge. That's what keeps this area active. But look at the first week of June. I see that ridge that was once over the southeast now sitting here. And I see higher than average heights there and higher than average heights here. And that may mean in the middle part of the country, we could possibly start to see a pattern shift. Now, it's hard to get this forecast nailed down. We're pretty far out here, but this is a different look than what we've seen over the last month. And that could be a welcome change as we move into the month of June. I'll be watching this very carefully every day, updating my forecast. It's going to be hard to see what's going to happen, but we are seeing a pattern change for the beginning of June. All right? To finish this out, I want to give you just a quick global update. One of the things I want to talk about right now, very active pattern moving through Europe, which is why we see the wetter than average anomalies right in through here. Part of the Russian wheat belt, part of Ukraine. So here's the Black Sea. So we're looking north of this. It's going to be dry over the next 5 days, but we will see that wetter pattern progressing to the east with time. In South America, we're kind of split. Wet in the northern part of Brazil and wet down here in parts of Paraguay and southern Brazil, getting toward Uruguay. In the middle where we started the safrinha crop harvest, things are looking favorable for that. And as we finish up harvest down there in Argentina, things are looking favorable. So not much of a story there. And just to keep an eye on China, parts of northern China, their main growing area right in through here, do carry a wet bias over the next 15 days, as does parts of southern China, but they're going to be dry, kind of tucked right in there in the middle. So we'll keep a close eye on all of these regions as we progress throughout the 2019 growing season and finish up the growing season out of South America. But with that, I'm going to have to wrap up this forecast video. We at Nutrien Ag Solutions hope you look forward to our next ag forecast coming out at my.nutrienagsolutions.com each day of the week. I hope you all have a great week. Please keep a very close eye on the radar through the next 8 days because it's going to be very active in the midsection of the country. Thank you.